aside from Kaguya and arguably Hagoromo, the strongest character in the entire series. That said, if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments or on Twitter. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I think that there's an interesting discussion to be had here, so I genuinely look forward to hearing from some of you. Now, real quick, before I get out of here, today's video is sponsored by Loot Crate, and I'm gonna be honest, I'll be a little bit surprised if most of you haven't heard of Loot Crate already. They've been around for quite a while, sponsoring creators like me for years, though I imagine what you guys are probably more interested in is what actually comes inside of a Loot Crate. So the idea with these things is, well, it's sort of in the name. It's like a loot crate. When you get to the end of a dungeon or a raid or whatever and you see the big treasure chest at the end of the hall, typically a lot of excitement there because you're like, oh boy, I wonder what's inside. It's full of all sorts of cool randomly assorted stuff, and as long as you stay subscribed, you'll get a new Loot Crate every month. Now, I'm sure at least some of you are wondering, well, what if Loot Crate puts something in the crate that I don't want? And see, I understand your concern. Fortunately, there's more than one different kind of Loot Crate that you can pick from, so you get to personalize the stuff you'll be getting every month. When I was offered this sponsorship, I got sent a Loot Crate for free, and I picked an Elder Scrolls crate. It was full of nothing but Elder Scrolls merch, and there are all sorts of other different themes that you can pick from. Something that's pretty similar to the Elder Scrolls is Fallout, but there's also other stuff like, of course, anime, Harry Potter, Marvel, horror, Rick and Morty, if you really want Rick and Morty merch every month. If you use the code SWAG15, you'll get 15% off of your order, plus you'll get to support the channel in the process, so hey, win-win for both of us. Thanks again to Loot Crate for sponsoring this video, and that's gonna be all from me. Catch you later, and as always, thanks for watching. Hey everybody, real quick before we get started with the video, I just wanted to call your attention to something. Now don't worry, this isn't a sponsorship or anything like that. Rather, Mr. Beast contacted me a little while ago, as well as the ocean. Thanks for listening everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, how's it going everybody? Swag Kage here, and today, so the video topic should be fairly obvious given the title, and unlike last time, I brought my boy, Seth with me. Say hello to everybody.
Hello.
So, yeah, I promised that I would do something like this at the end of last week's video. And, Seth and I have actually talked about this quite a bit, like pre-recording. It is a fairly difficult question to answer because, you know, there are a lot of reasons why. First of all, Naruto hasn't really done anything since he lost Kurama. And also, Boruto, Dragon Ball Super's been like this too. Like, the new gen, like, sequel anime manga have, I don't know if you've talked about this in previous videos already, but, they do this weird, like, intentional ambiguity thing. Hey everybody, how's it going? Swagkage here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a CBR list. This was linked to me by somebody on Twitter, and let me go ahead and say, I haven't actually looked at the list, but based on the other stuff I've seen from CBRs and other websites like them, I mean, even if you guys don't know what the deal is with CBR, I mean, you probably know what to expect from a list like this. I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm in for here, and honestly, I feel a little bit bad about engaging with it because I feel like most articles like this, where they're just, like, presumably anyway, filled with stuff that's just so outrageously wrong that it's like, come on, man, there's no way this isn't bait, right? Like, stuff like that, it just feels really cynical. So, now, to mitigate this, I'm tempted to, though I would never suggest this, you know, I I considered it, but I thought, no, it would be very wrong of me to suggest that anyone who is interested in checking the list out does so with ad block turned on. That would be really messed up, obviously, so don't do it. It would make me very mad. Anyway, now that we've got all that intro stuff out of the way, let's... so let me... First, I guess I'll take a look at these, like, intro paragraphs. There have been many groups in this. Yeah, trust me, I just definitely watched Naruto. I'm a super big fan. Second order is made by Nagato to carry on Madara's plan to fulfill. No, that's incorrect. Okay, so yeah, this is probably gonna be a lot of fun. Number 15, we got Mr. Filler here, Juzo. Yeah, this is. I mean, I don't watch the filler season, so I don't know. This is probably correct. Leading off the most powerful. Wait, leading off the most power isn't. Hold on. Isn't this like all of them? If there's got like who's missing? There's no way anybody's missing, so I don't know. It's like. Okay, no, never mind. This is me being pedantic. You know what? Don't. But I mean, it's just a really weird. Like you say he's like leading off, but he's at the bottom. This guy's the worst, and you're like, man, he's so like, no, come on, whatever. So number 14. So this is where the list really starts, right? You know, no filler involved. We've got Hidan here. Yeah, I guess this makes sense. Everybody knows he's not really that tough. By his mortality gimmick. But it's like really weird that they're like he's at the bottom and they're hyping him up like he's really strong. Granted, this isn't like super effective. Like it takes Shikamaru a whole lot of planning to beat him, and it's like, so I don't know. Maybe they're dunking on Hidan here, but like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think this is supposed to be hyping. Yeah, whatever. So number 13, we got Deidara, and like, so let's think. Obviously Deidara isn't like at the top. I mean, I guess like if the rest of the list made sense and this was like the only thing that seemed like, you know, out of pocket from them, I wouldn't hold this too far against them, because Deidara is definitely towards like the lower end. But like second weakest, not counting filler, of course. Second weakest? Let's see what they have to. Like, they're just hyping him up. They're not explaining why he's down so low. I don't even know what to say. This paragraph is pretty weak, though, by the way. Even Naruto, who grew up to be incredibly overpowered, resorts to talking things out with. I don't think that's not true. Deidara is one of the like only people who Naruto like explicitly doesn't talk no jutsu, right? Like Deidara has to totally commit suicide in an attempt to kill Naruto, Kakashi, and Team Guy. So yeah, I'm like, I think like this whole time Naruto was just in like rage steroid QB mode. So number 12, Conan. Okay, yeah, I keep getting ahead of myself. We'll get there in a second. Yeah, I guess. I mean, Conan's definitely toward the bottom, so... But, like, above Deidara? I don't know about that. Like, she did get done up by Phase Drive. Again, so this isn't, like, a huge deal, right? You know, I'm not gonna scold him too hard for, like, having Conan above Deidara, I guess. Well, I don't know, maybe, should I? Like, I guess it's not... Like, if you're a casual viewer, and you're just like, yeah, I think Conan could beat Deidara, it's not like... Then I wouldn't be like, yeah, your article's like bait, and I think that you're like saying wrong things on purpose. So Conan, okay, so I mean like Conan's not stronger than Deidara, but I guess it like if again, like I was saying, if this is like the only bit of cap that they have on the list, then like I probably like won't upload this video because it's not worth. Well, I was gonna say I won't upload this video, but I know because I snuck a peek at the person who's next. That this is gonna get a bit more interesting in a second. But this isn't like, I mean, it's wrong, but it's not like that bad. And wait, what are you talking about? She's literally the fourth weakest member, and you're like, but she's one of the strongest members the Akatsuki ever had. Like, if we don't count the filler guy, she's literally bottom 3, and you're like, yeah, man, she, like, I don't know. The way this article is written is very confusing. But okay, here's no, okay. So, what on earth is Kabuto doing in this position? It's like, here's the, okay, I almost saw who they have at number 10, but I didn't quite. So, if Kabuto's like part 1 Kabuto, or like pre-Orochimaru Snake Boy Sage Kabuto, then he goes like below Datara, right? But if you're using Sage Kabuto, he should be at like the fucking top of the list. This is just such a weird position for him, like barely above Conan. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could see you, like, because he was like compared to Kakashi and like he did beat Tsunade, I could see maybe why you would think he's like above these two, but I don't know, man. Like, he was pretty scared of Sasuke, the same Sasuke that, like, you know, Datara nearly killed. So, but anyway, so the more important thing is, like, even if they are talking about that like the Kabuto that's pictured here, which I imagine they are. Yeah, actually, they definitely are talking about this Kabuto. But even if you are talking about it, that's incorrect, because that's not the Kabuto who is a part of the Akatsuki. Like, when he went to Obito to, like, work with him, he was wearing the snake cloak, and he had all the Edo Sensei summons ready. So this, I don't know, this, let's see. It's debatable whether or not Kabuto was ever officially a member of the Akatsuki. I mean, he was. While working under Orochimaru, however, he definitely infiltrates their ranks, so he makes this list. Wait, like, so this is Henchman Kabuto? But then he's not a member of the Akatsuki. He's, like, a reverse, like, double-cross sleeper agent that's specifically working against them, while he's actually at his strongest after his time with the Akatsuki. Okay, never mind. So they're definitely talking about, like, what? I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely capped to have him above Datara, but this Kabuto, whatever. Yeah, this Kabuto wasn't an Akatsuki member. Sasori. Sure. I was about to just scroll down and see who was above him to see if I could find any issues with him being at number 10. What is Itachi doing here? Itachi, Sasuke, Uchiha. What are you? Yeah, they like. I mean, so this is kind of incorrect. Like, he can't use Itachi, but that's like me again. Like, that's me being kind of pedantic. But that's not the problem here. They just like list off like all of the like busted stuff he can do, and then they're like, yeah, he's probably just like barely above Sasori. Like, what is? There's no way this is a serious list. There's no way. Like, what? They don't even. Kisame is not even. He hasn't even shown up yet. What are you talking about? Oh my god, man, this caught me off guard. Like, oh my god. Okay, let's go and see who. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that Pain's this low with Itachi, but like they put like two of the top three. Like, oh man, CBR, what are you doing? Pain is the animated corpse of Yahiko. That's not correct. Pain possesses a projection of Nagato's Rinnegan. No. Okay, so maybe they just worded this wrong. I don't know if they think that Pain is just Tendo Pain, and that Tendo Pain is the one that controls the other Pains, or if they recognize that, because it sounds like they know that Nagato controls him, and that he controls the, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but like, they mention the six paths, right? They mention the six paths, and then they explicitly say that he's the animated corpse of Yahiko. Pain is not, this is not Pain. This is Tendo Pain, and there are 5 other Pains that are all like one entity. That's how Pain refers to himself. Like, we are Pain, right? Yeah, like this Pain can't do like all of this stuff. But even if, so like even if we give them the benefit of the doubt, and which is like, they thought that Pain was just like the one body, he's still like Tendo Pain by himself is still higher than number 8. Wait. you know who we haven't seen make an appearance yet. Is that boy Kakazu did that. Is he? Oh, yeah, let's fucking go. Let's go.
Durability.
So, okay, hold on a second. I really hope my video, like the one where I was talking to Parrot about this, is the reason why they have him here. Like, I really hope that whoever wrote this article was just doing some, like, you know, just, you know, going to Google, like, who would or Pain, and then, like, they see my video here, and then they're like, oh, looking, and then they're like, I see it would appear that, Kakazu could be Pain. Okay, very interesting. And then they went back to their Google Doc. Like, I hope that's what happened. That would be awesome. That would be so cool. Okay, let's see. I mean, like, it's really hard to like work through this person's thought process and like understand why they place these characters this way, because like every time they're just like, yeah, man, this person is so strong because they could do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, and Z, but then they like don't like say, but you know that the reason they're not higher is because they're not, you know, quite able to make the cut against people such as Kakazu, who is multi-continental. So what is under normal circumstances? Because Kakashi literally like stabs him through the heart. Does it mean like Kakashi was only able to damage him with like Raikiri? Why, you know, because like Earth is weak to lightning? Because I mean, like, that's still normal circumstances. It's pretty normal for Kakashi to use a lightning jutsu in a fight, right? I don't know. Who we got next? Okay, so like I was saying earlier, bro, we got Kisame above Itachi, which is also above Pain. Pretty whack. Like this. Okay, never mind. We're gonna get there in a second. I think it's like universally agreed upon by like everybody that Kisame is definitely not stronger than Itachi. I'm pretty sure nobody thinks that Kisame is higher here. So yeah, I think that this validates my hypothesis that this is a hate article. Cause like who like actually sits down and watches Naruto and like whether you're a casual fan or a hardcore fan gets the impression that Kisame could beat Itachi. Also, wait, hold on a second. The old Samehada guy didn't kill himself. Kisame killed him and stole Samehada. What are you talking about? Where did it? Whatever. So number 5 is Zetsu. No. I guess you could argue that like he stabbed Madara, so like sure, maybe I could give this a pass, but then like okay, so here's the thing about Zetsu. Like if you really want to like unironically like make the claim that he should be like 6 paths level because he like stabbed Madara, then he should be like near or above Madara, right? I don't think he's 4 spots above Itachi, but that aside, like if you do think he's like Madara level, then shouldn't who even is left anyway? What are you talking about? Why is Orochimaru No, Orochimaru would not defeat Itachi in a fight. That would not happen. As a matter of fact, we don't even have to ask what would happen if they fought, because we've seen it, and Orochimaru got one shot twice. So Obito up here, yeah, you know, this makes sense. So yeah, they got Madara up at number 2. Who's number 1? Shin? Like, I mean, like, I guess probably not, because he did get beat up by Sakura, but this is a clear assessment, I guess, especially if you're talking about base Madara. But yeah, this list is not good. The big issue, like, I don't care about this nearly as much as I do about Orochimaru at 4. That's 5. let me know what you guys think. So thanks for watching. Bye, everybody. How's it going, fellas? Swank Hage here, and today we're going to be performing a fun thought experiment, answering what I think is a pretty interesting question. Now, the title probably already gave you a pretty clear idea of what we're going to be discussing here, but just for the sake of being thorough, I'll go ahead and explain the premise in a bit more detail. The idea here is that, unlike in the main series, or the original timeline, I guess, after leaving the cave where Madara had been keeping him, Obito was able to regroup with Rin and Kakashi fast enough to save them from the Blood Mist Ninja. Now, at first glance, and I guess this may depend on how familiar you are with the details, a lot of the effects that this is going to have probably won't be readily apparent. I know when I first started thinking about this, I recognized a lot of the cool things that this could lead to, but the domino effect ended up reaching a lot further than I expected. Despite the fact that Obito and Rin are the only characters mentioned in the premise we're using for this video, a surprisingly small amount of what happens as a result of this is directly adjacent. This has a lot of far-reaching consequences, but before we get to them, let's start simple and focus on the direct immediate aftermath. So, first of all, since we've prevented Rin's death, that also means that we've eliminated the catalyst for Sharingan. Obviously, they could still do it at some point in the future, but something else would have to prompt it. Something else that should be fairly obvious is that when Guru realizes that Madara's plan failed and Obito actually has no intentions of going back to the cave, he'll probably split off from the group and head back to Madara. Now, at this point, there are still a lot of factors to consider, the most important one being the whole Rin three-tail situation. So, based on the way I interpreted it, I don't think Rin was supposed to find out that she was Isuru's Jinchuriki. Granted, this very well might not be the case. It really depends on how the seal gets detailed inside of her. But I've always assumed that she was knocked unconscious or put into a trance with Genjutsu or something like that that would have kept her from observing the sealing process. Since the success of the plan hinges on Rin willingly returning to Konoha, it just makes no sense to clue her in on any of the details. Even if Rin wasn't told why she was made into a Jinchuriki, figuring it out wouldn't be too hard. The Biju are extremely valuable resources, so for the Mist to seal one inside of an enemy ninja, they'd probably have to have something like this very exact same plan in mind. Now, the reason this is all important is because I think that as long as Rin stays out of Konoha, saving her is very doable. The seal just needs to hold out for long enough for Minato to be able to rendezvous with his team, and Rin should be good to go from there. For those of you who may have forgotten, Minato is one of the best users of Fuinjutsu in the entire ninja world, and one of the things he's explicitly shown doing is reinforcing the seal used to contain the Nine Tails within Naruto. I should also add that Minato pulled this off from beyond the grave by sealing a portion of his own chakra inside of Naruto. It was this manifestation of his chakra that reinforced the seal, and this was when the Nine Tails was well on its way to completely breaking free. So strengthening Rin's seal to keep the Three Tails contained should be light work for him. Of course, there is a chance that Minato wouldn't be able to show up in time, but even if the Three Tails did manage to break free, he should be more than capable of containing it single-handedly. The issue with this is that a Three Tails rampage would probably lead to Rin's death, which itself would lead to Obito awakening his Mangekyo Sharingan, and also probably to him returning to Madara's cave, though there is a chance that Minato and Kakashi would at least be able to talk him out of it. It's definitely up in the air though, so we'll just have to hope that Minato shows up in time to get the Three Tails under control. Otherwise, there's a very real chance that effectively nothing changes and the series just proceeds as it originally did. Now, assuming Minato does show up to save the day, which is very plausible considering he gave Kakashi one of his kunai, this is where things start to get really, really different. It's hard to say for sure, of course, but I feel like this would completely transform the final stages of the war, not because Obito or Rin would be able to avoid the but because I think that once everyone realizes that the Leaf has an extra ninja at its disposal, the politics surrounding the war will begin to change. I think it's very likely that the Mist will demand that the Three Tails be returned to them as part of their terms for negotiating peace, but whether or not the Leaf would, agree to do it is pretty ambiguous. I don't even think the Leaf would necessarily have a problem with returning the Three Tails if Rin didn't have to die in the process, and granted, if Rin was just a no-name ninja with, no connections, this may not even be a factor, and the Leaf probably won't decide to do it anyway. But when considering the fact that Minato was arguably the Leaf's most important asset in the whole war, and she's one of his students, they would probably never follow through with a deal like this. It also wouldn't be hard at all to make an argument in favor of keeping the Three Tails. Under these circumstances, the Mist would have plain and simple fumbled the bag, and it would have been entirely their fault. Not to mention, the whole reason they lost it is because they were trying to do something pretty heinous and awful. By just about any reasonable moral standard, their plan could be safely considered not nice at the very least. Now, since this is a world war, peace negotiations could work all sorts of different ways. It could be on a village-to-village basis. There could be a summit like the one Hashirama called around the time of the First Great Ninja War. It's really up in the air. But whatever the circumstances are, they're definitely going to have an effect on the whole Three Tails situation. If the peace negotiations happen at, a summit, for example, and it's either we all agree on everything or we don't agree on anything type of situation, then the other villages may pressure the Leaf into giving Isobu back to the Mist so that everybody can go home and nobody else has to die. It depends on how badly and how quickly each of the 5 great nations wants to end the war, or at the very least pull out of the war themselves, and also on how uncomfortable they are with the idea of Konoha having an extra Biju. But it's also very possible that at least 1 or 2 of the other villages will want to avoid getting on the Leaf's bad side because of how dominant they were throughout the Third War. Based on what we know, especially as we take filler into consideration, the Stone specifically had a really hard time fighting against Konoha, and both the Sand and Cloud villages have recently lost their Kazekage and Raikage respectively, so I think it's a lot more likely that all 3 of them will probably want to pull out of the war on an individual basis, and may even agree to an alliance with Konoha if that's what it takes to get a peace treaty signed. If that's what ends up happening, then the Mist Village will eventually have to back down and accept whatever terms are laid out by the Leaf in order to avoid being annihilated by the 2 or maybe even 4 alliances. Speaking of the Mist Village, by the time we reach a point in this timeline where the original series would have began, their history should look noticeably different. Primarily because A, since Yagura would no longer be the Three Tails Jinchuriki, it's very possible that he wouldn't become Mizukage in the first place, and B, because Obito wouldn't be there controlling whoever the new Mizukage is from the shadows, since he'd be back home in Konoha. Now, it's unclear exactly how responsible the Obito-controlled Yagura was for all the Blood Mist stuff, since they were being referred to as the Blood Mist before he should have been able to take power. So I guess it depends on who ends up taking over after the 3rd Mizukage, but in this timeline, the Mist could end up reforming a lot sooner than they did in the original series. This could lead to all sorts of differences from the original timeline, like for example, Kisame may never end up defecting from the Mist Village if it gets its act together, and he certainly wouldn't join the Akatsuki because he'd never end up meeting Obito. Speaking of the Akatsuki, it's also possible, though not particularly likely, that Danzo will end up losing interest in the Hidden Rain Village once he learns that the Leaf is now in possession of the Three Tails. News like this may be major enough to cause him to leave the Rain Village entirely so he can go back to the Land of Fire and keep an eye on Rin. Without Danzo in the Rain Village for an extended period of time, Hanzo may never end up being convinced that he should be afraid of him. But Yahiko may never end up dying, Nagato may never end up crippled, and the Akatsuki may even end up establishing an alliance with Hanzo like the group originally intended. There are a lot of maybes there, though, so it is still totally possible that Hanzo ends up killing Yahiko, and nothing really changes for Nagato and Conan. Regardless, the Akatsuki is gonna look a lot different one way or another, because Obito won't be there to mess with it. Itachi will probably never become a member, because, well, in order to explain that, let's talk about another next tournament. So I already talked about a lot of this in the What If Minato Never Died video, but as long as the League doesn't assume that the Uchiha clan was behind the Nine Tails attack, they probably don't have to worry about being completely exterminated. And since in this timeline there won't be a Nine Tails attack, since Obito won't be carrying out the Eye of the Moon plan, unless something else happens that's like really big and really incriminates the clan, they probably won't have anything to worry about. Now this may go without saying, but in this timeline the Leaf Village would be pretty stacked. They'd have Minato, Hiruzen, the Uchiha clan, Biju, and included in the Uchiha clan, by the way, is Obito, with the enhancements he received from Madara. So I think it's safe to say that they'd be pretty safe. I can't imagine any of the 5 great nations would want to declare war on them. The only group they'd really have to worry about is the Rain Village, but with Minato as the Hokage, and by the way, this is Minato with like 12 to 16 extra years worth of training by the time we reach Shippuden, they should be able to handle anything that's thrown at them. It's hard to speculate about anything else, including what the Leaf would do with the information that Madara was still alive, without venturing into complete fanfic territory, so I think this is a good place to end the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, thanks for watching. Take care.
If you want to see better results, make a great impression, and save time at work, you should get Grammarly.
With Grammarly, it's like I have my own personal editor on every email or message or essay that I write, and it's free to download.
Before I got Grammarly, I could sense that people didn't understand what I was trying to communicate in my emails. I was too wordy. Now, I get my point across clearly. I catch embarrassing grammar and spelling errors before I get sent.
I'm very straightforward, so the tone suggestions help me make sure that I'm not unintentionally coming across too hard.
I got Grammarly. It took 2 minutes to set up, and instantly I could see it making my writing better everywhere I type.
It helps me make my messages clear and crisp, and just overall more effective. Imagine what would happen if everything you wrote was a little bit better. All those small improvements really add up over time.
If you don't have Grammarly, try it for free today.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Swag Kage here, and today, with me, I got my good pal, my good buddy, my friend, my wife, my husband, Seth the Programmer.
Hello.
So today, we're gonna be taking a look at a,
Uchiha video, but with other people.
like, it's like a thing, like, I guess it's like a follow-up to, like, a thing that I did a couple times in the past. Like, could this guy beat the Akatsuki videos, all, like, popped off, like, a lot. People seem to really like them. But the thing is, this isn't gonna be the same, because it's not like, could this guy beat them all at the same time? It's more like, could this guy beat them at all at different points?
Yeah, like where does he scale to individuals at what time, right?
I mean, maybe we could talk at the end. If EMS Sasuke could do it, could run the whole gauntlet. Well, no, because Itachi's there, but,
Yeah, Obito's, yeah.
Well, yeah, there's not really any Sasuke in between. Like, Sasuke either gets stomped by the whole group or stomps the whole group. It sucks.
So, I mean, let's just clarify.
Yeah.
Part 1, Sasuke probably doesn't win. For the most part, like, Hidan probably still mops him. You know, like, during the Land of Waves, if Hidan showed up, Hidan would probably smoke him up, you know. During the Chunin exams, probably the same thing. Hidan's probably soloing, you know. I don't think Sasuke was Biju level during the Garo fight either.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty shook. I wouldn't say he's necessarily like Bijou Jinchuriki level even during the Vital Valley either. So I think we can all agree part 1 doesn't necessarily scale. So we kind of just have to start with Stardust Shippuden, which is kind of where the characters start to, or they're trained up and are able to start contesting against the Akatsuki, right? So yeah. So we have Stardust Shippuden. The problem with Stardust Shippuden is that there's kind of like 2 versions of it. There's like actual Stardust Shippuden, and then there's Stardust Shippuden after he absorbs Orochimaru, and they're kind of the same, but it's implied that Sasuke might have like greater stamina or recovery or like poison resistances with Orochimaru that make things a little bit different. So yeah.
Yeah, the poison resistance specifically is going to be relevant here in a bit.
Yeah.
With a certain puppet man.
So I mean, I think right off the bat we can just say it, is that Stardust Shippuden Sasuke probably loses not only to Sasori but Deidara as well. So like, the reason I say that is because he's basically like almost like near death diffed like Deidara.
It was like a 0.05 out of 10.
With
like
Orochimaru's chakra or power or stamina absorbed. So like, just imagine him with like less durability, less stamina and resistances versus Deidara, and it's like, he probably doesn't win considering it was almost a draw with those amps. And then Sasori, I've talked about this before, but his speed beats are even more insane than Deidara. Like obviously he's able to fight people stronger and faster than the Gaara, who already ripped Deidara's arm off with his fast sand. So now imagine that, but with like instant death, poison,
and it's not like, well, I don't know, man. You might be giving him Sasuke. Like, it's not like Sasori has to touch Sasuke. It's more like Sasori has to use like the third Kazekage puppet. Like he can manipulate sand, right? The same way Gaara can, except it's even better. Like he has the best sand in the whole series.
Magnet sand.
It's all coated with instant death poison. Like,
and he can control it as well. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
People think like he just shoots like a blast or something. No, he can actually change the trajectory of these bullets mid-air, and he actually does this in the anime. Like an Edo Tensei version in the anime that Orochimaru makes actually uses these bullets and changes their trajectory to like hunt down Deidara mid-air and like shoot down his clay like puppet or whatever, or his clay like jutsu. So that's exactly what he would do to Sasuke, except it would arguably be faster than what Gaara already used to rip Deidara apart anyway.
The third Kazekage was stated to be the strongest Kazekage, of course, as well.
Yes.
Stronger than the Gaara that fought Deidara. I believe that there's also a statement that the third Kazekage was stronger than Gaara in the Fourth War as well, but I don't remember
he's
that.
stronger than Rasa, and during the war, Rasa's like sand, like traveling at like relative speeds to Gaara. And then it's implied that Gaara beat Rasa by attacking the other Edo Tenseis, and when his Edo Tensei automatically went to defend them, then he was caught off guard by Gaara attacking from below, kind of. So like, it wasn't like necessarily like he wasn't strong enough to fight Gaara, it was more like a strategic assault. But when they actually did clash, it was implied their waves were like kind of relative.
Yeah.
And then of course the third Kazekage is just greater. We even see Chiyo in the war dodge a KCM Shadow Clone Rasen Shuriken, and this KCM Shadow Clone is fighting not sick Kimimaru, who's almost at full power, and then Orochimaru's like, yeah, if he wasn't sick, we would have no-hit the third Hokage, the strongest Hokage at the time. Like, so these are pretty relevant statements, I feel. And then on top of that,
well, like the other thing too about the third Kazekage is like I don't think people like get how strong Sasori has to be, like, because like he killed the third Kazekage without that puppet, like on hand, like he had to turn the third Kazekage into the puppet, so he didn't have it when he assassinated him. So like this had to be just like mother and father puppet having Sasori, or maybe he used performance of 100 puppets or whatever.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Was he a puppet at that point? I don't know.
Yeah, he was. He converted himself into a puppet a while ago.
Yeah, so maybe his puppet body is just even superior to that.
Yeah.
There you go. So like, not only does he have the third Kazekage, like who he scales above, like he himself is then just greater than that puppet as well. So
like Sasuke would basically like he struggled against Deidara, who was roughly equal to Gaara, who was weaker than a guy that Sasori is like effectively two of.
yeah, and then the only downplay I know of for sure is just Sakura stuff, but we know Sasori wasn't going all out in that fight, but Sakura herself is actually kind of downplayed because Sakura has like this scaling where all of her training with Tsunade is basically her learning how to be agile and avoid things, because she's a medic, right? So she's not allowed to die as a medic, so she needs to be agile, and then learning the strength jutsu. So it might be heavily implied that Naruto couldn't perform the same thing she did, and it's obviously arguable if Sasuke could as well. So it's like, because that's specifically what Tsunade trained her for, whereas Orochimaru and Jiraiya trained her to be agile in that way, or evasive, which is what she was doing. So even if you did somehow argue that Sasori was going all out at one point, which he never went all out versus Sakura ever, because when he did get his actual body, he wasn't trying. But even if you did imply that, you would just say, okay, well, Sakura's only scaling is being evasive towards Kakashi and Sasori. That's all we know about her, and that's her training. So it's
Well,
not,
she was
it's not
also
it.
being amped by Chio too at multiple points throughout that fight. So
Yeah, and she was like adapting and like learning as well while the fight happened. So, and then the next time we see her fight, she's like going ham in the war. So, not really
doing like nuke punches and stuff.
yeah, not really an anti-fight. So yeah, and then of course, then it's just like, okay, well, could Orochimaru Sasuke take Sasori because he wouldn't get poisoned? And once again, I think this is more. This is if Deidara is like Gaara level, give or take, which he might not be, like, but it was implied that Gaara was fast enough to rip him apart.
The thing about that fight, and this isn't like headcanony either. I think it's like, I think there was a lot that was like intentionally put into the fight to convey the idea that Gaara was actually stronger than Deidara, but Deidara took advantage of Gaara's concern for the Sand Village. Like, Deidara literally tried to blow up the whole village, and Gaara had to spend a ton of chakra. Like, the guys actually start sweating just trying to make this barrier to make sure nobody dies. And like, Deidara is just being really dirty and slimy throughout the fight. So
Pulling some like Frieza versus Goku shenanigans, basically. Yeah.
So you could very easily argue that Gaara should have won that fight, and like, so Deidara might be even weaker than that.
Although,
And Sasori would still be like stronger than would still be stronger than Gaara.
in Deidara's defense, he does have a lot of hacks ability versus Gaara. But I think when we're talking about just raw power scaling here, which is like the speed, the attack potency, no hacks, and Sasori is just faster than Deidara, who was contending with Sasuke, which is the only point necessary. Yeah, maybe Deidara could have done better with his hacks against Gaara, but we're just talking about raw speed kind of scaling.
Yeah,
how
Gaara
Sasori
demonstrated multiple times he was physically superior. So.
Yeah, which is what Sasori scales above. So Sasori would also be able to physically contend or outdo Sasuke.
This next one is gonna be where we enter like contentious edgy town.
Before that, he clearly beats Hidan, right?
Yeah.
Hidan is like the pretty much self-proclaimed weakest, slowest, whatever. So if he's fighting Deidara, he's fast enough to fight Hidan. Probably could just Genjutsu him as well. Genjutsu, just D-limb him. That's it. So yeah, pretty easy for Hidan. But anyway, go ahead.
Next, let's talk about Kakuzu.
Okay. Yep, we're going to Pound Town. The birdcage.
We think Sasuke would win.
Okay, so this is more like narratively based than like feat based, right? Because Kakuzu is actually pretty beastly, for the most part. So he could like take attacks from like a Minato level Rasen Shuriken and not instant die. He could fight Kakashi, who then would go on to fight Tendo Pain pretty close, in, like, close proximity. But